loss of assets. You're going to make a mistake, fat finger something and lose all your money. It's just not a sustainable way to invest in digital assets. That's not to say it has no use. I think it's extremely powerful having this open network that anybody can develop on top of. But that's really the use case of DeFi, that anybody can build anything on top of it. And we should be relying on those developers to really make those services work for retail. So that's sort of how I see the market going. And I see a much heavier reliance on developers in the future rather than just, telling retail investors to go figure it out and, use that smart contract directly or, transfer your funds directly from protocol A to protocol B, like whatever it is, like that shouldn't be the expectation. The expectation should be that developers need to develop better services for retail investors.
Honestly, when you put it that way, it makes sense. I probably am in the same camp of thinking with respect to how people are going to interface with this stuff 10 years down the line. I really can't see. I can't see a world of mass adoption where, like you said, there is a risk of fat fingering, pressing the wrong button, missing a letter, and and from there your funds are gone. So, yeah, it's an interesting take, and I can see why it can be controversial, for lack of a better term. But really thinking about it, I do believe that's the direction we're heading in. So, with that said, we touched, or rather had an overview of Shrimpy, but let's dive into all things Shrimpy as a social trading platform. You explained a bit about how it works, but give us some more detail into the step-by-step process, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so at a very high level, so we have two different services for Shrimpy. We have the existing platform, Shrimpy Pro, and we're about to launch our Shrimpy Advisory. So most of the things that I talk about will be related to the existing platform, Shrimpy Pro. But essentially how that platform works is if you already have an exchange account, if you already have a wallet or a custodian, you can connect that to Shrimpy, view all of your different accounts in a single place, and manage your assets through Shrimpy. So, for example, you can set up an index. You could say, I want to index the top 10 assets by market cap. Shrimpy will automatically index the market with the assets you have on your exchange, and then we can automatically rebalance those assets over time. Or similarly, we have a social trading section of our platform where you can view other people on the platform. You can follow their trades. So when they trade, your trades automatically copy over to your account and stuff like that. So it's sort of a combination of, we aggregate all access to all of these different exchanges and liquidity providers and wallets. But we also have social elements, and we also have, tracking and data elements where we pull in all of your trades, allow you to monitor your performance and stuff like
that. And tell us a bit about how leaders work and also how they earn revenue from their followers.
Yeah, so in terms of leaders, right now anybody can become a leader. So you can sign up, you just fill out a form, a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your strategy. And then once you become a leader, other people can follow you. So the leader can set their fees. So for example, they can set an AUM fee. So they'll charge based on assets under management, or they can charge a flat fee for somebody to follow them. And then when a customer comes in and they want to follow that leader, all they have to do is select that leader, agree that they're going to pay their fees, and then they can follow them. And then Shrimpy automatically takes the fees out from the follower and pays the leader. So, we have sort of automated infrastructure for all of that stuff. But that's sort of the general idea. And then, of course, whenever the leader trades, so say, they have a full stack in Bitcoin, 100% Bitcoin portfolio, and then they move it to Ethereum because they think, the merge is going to pump the price, we will copy those trades to all of their followers. So very simple concept.
And can you partition your portfolio and, let's say, copy half a dozen of your favorite traders?
Yeah, of course. So in Shrimpy, we have a concept of portfolios. So on a single exchange, you can break your account into multiple portfolios, and each portfolio can have a different strategy. So let's say you have 5 different portfolios. You can follow, let's say 5 different leaders, but you could also say follow 2 different leaders, implement your own strategy on the third portfolio, and maybe you don't want to do anything for the last 2 portfolios. You just want to hodl your assets. So you can sort of pick different strategies for different portfolios.
And can you link your Shrimpy account to multiple exchanges simultaneously?
Yes. So most of our customers have multiple exchanges that they trade on. So for example, I myself, I think I have like 12 different exchanges and 25 different wallets that I have linked to Shrimpy. Way too many to manage, but it would really only be possible to manage with Shrimpy. And I can view all of them in Shrimpy. I can execute my trades on the different exchanges. I could follow leaders on different exchanges. But all of that, you can link all of them to Shrimpy, and we'll manage the connection to all of them.
And are there any other specific features it sounds pretty straightforward to me, especially once you actually start to look at the user interface. It's so clean, so easy to use, so easy to plug in. But are there any specific features that you think are important to highlight that we haven't discussed yet?
So one of the main features that a lot of customers use is that the automation concept. So, I briefly touched on indexing, but automation is also more than that. So you can set up an automation in a way that, for example, would trigger a stop loss on your portfolio. So let's say you had a full portfolio of assets, and during a bull market, you wanted to allocate, 10 different altcoins that you think are going to be very volatile. But in a bear market, you want to move everything to USDT. So you could do that with Shrimpy. So you could set up an automation that when a stop loss is triggered, we move the entire portfolio over to USDT. And then you can move it back into the market once the bull market returns. So it's sort of an easy way to move your assets around without having to log into the exchange, execute a whole bunch of individual trades and stuff like that. And we automatically optimize for things like fees, slippage, spread, all of these things that advanced traders are concerned about. We automatically optimize so that we're not getting excessive fees, we're not causing excessive slippage or anything like that.
Michael, is there any way for users to, or rather for people to use Shrimpy without KYCing, or is KYC a must?
Yeah, so Shrimpy doesn't require KYC, so anybody can sign up and start using it without KYC. One thing I would mention is right now we're in the process of rolling out a free tier. So we don't actually currently have a free tier, but that will be available in the next couple weeks. So if you want to try it out for free, we will have a free tier in a couple weeks. And I also thought of one other feature that I think is worth mentioning, which is one thing that I realized with myself is that if you asked me how much Bitcoin did I have on any given day, I would have no idea. I trade all the time. I move assets in and out of positions. So it's very difficult for me to track, what did I have January 1st of this year? So one of the cool features that we implemented that people really like is we can give you snapshots of your portfolio at any point in history. So, for example, if I wanted to check how much Bitcoin did I have on January 1st, I can just click on my graph and it will automatically display, these are all of the assets that you had. This is how much you had of each asset. This was even the performance, the price performance of that asset at that time. And you could look at like historical price data and stuff like that as well. So to me, this is something unique that I haven't seen anywhere else. It's very difficult to like view your portfolio in history.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think I've seen that anywhere else either. And I've interacted with a number of different, not just centralized exchanges, but DeFi platforms like CoinStats, Zapper, Zerion, DBank, so on and so forth. So really cool. Um, can you explain the differences between each subscription tier that Shrimpy offers and the cost for each? I believe there's a starter, professional, and enterprise. I know you did mention that you guys are coming out with a free one as well.
Yeah, so the most basic tier, the starter tier, that's really designed for people who are getting into crypto for the first time. You know, they probably only have a couple of exchanges. They probably only want a couple different portfolios. So it basically has all of the features, but just slightly less. So like, for example, I think they can link up to 5 accounts. They can create up to 3 portfolios and stuff like that. But it's basically the same as all of the other tiers, just a little bit less. So that's the tier that most people get started on. We will actually be adding more features to that tier once we release the free tier. So I think people will be excited about that. And then we do have higher tiers as well. We have a professional tier and we have a enterprise tier. The professional tier is for people who want more responsive data. So, for example, if they want their graphs to refresh at a faster rate, or they want a couple additional portfolios or to link a couple of additional accounts. But it's really for power users who are looking to get the most out of their data and their assets and stuff like that. And then finally, of course, the enterprise tier. So that allows you to link a whole bunch of different accounts. So you can link basically an unlimited number of accounts. So we have enterprise users who have linked, 300 different exchange accounts to Shrimpy in a single account and manage all of their accounts in one place. So that's the extreme case where you want sort of like full access. You want to be able to link as many accounts as you want, create as many portfolios as you want, and really go crazy with your portfolio management.
Right on. Michael, a lot of folks prefer to stay off centralized exchanges. And I'm curious to know if you guys have developed infrastructure for decentralized wallet compatibility.
Yeah, so we currently support, I believe it's 13 different wallets. So you can connect those wallets. Just like exchanges, you can view your balances, you can view your historical chart over time, you can execute trades on DEXs. So that's an area that we're still building out, but we do have functionality to support wallets, to be able to trade, to be able to manage your assets through wallets. So, people who aren't looking to keep all of their assets on an exchange can take those offline. We automatically monitor your accounts. So like, for example, if you link your Ledger wallet, we automatically scan to pull in your new balances, and then we update your portfolios and your graphs automatically. So it's sort of a continuous data pipeline that we've created for wallets and for people who are looking to monitor their more decentralized holdings.
So how exactly does it work, right? Your cold storage integration? Because if my tokens or my assets are on my ledger, for example, what how are the swaps happening? If the trader that I'm following is like swapping Bitcoin for Ethereum and then Ethereum for AVAX, like how does my cold storage wallet, or how I guess you know what I'm saying, like how do those assets know to swap in real time when
Yeah, so it's a little bit complicated, but ultimately the user does need to approve the transactions before they get sent out. So this isn't something that we can automate. We automate it to a certain extent. So we automate it in the sense that we will create the transactions that are going to be sent out. We will send them to your device, and then you have to approve them. So once you approve them, though, Shrimpy takes care of the rest. So, there is a manual step in the middle, but unfortunately, that's sort of what needs to be done if you want, as a user, to manage your own assets.
So you guys first started with Crabby, and I'm curious to know what some problems were with Crabby, some pain points, some learning lessons, and how did you rectify those and apply those lessons to Shrimpy to make it a more user-free application?
Yeah, so Crabby was the first application that we launched long time ago now. At least it feels like a long time in crypto years. So Crabby was a service that we launched in 2017, before Shrimpy, like you mentioned. And the purpose of the Crabby application was to be a very technical trade service for advanced traders. So we allowed traders to set up very complicated strategies, and then we allowed them to pull in different indicators or different metrics, or whatever it was, to determine when to trigger trades. And they could build all of this into a rather sophisticated UI. So it was a very complicated application. And although as a trader myself, I knew how to use the application, what I noticed pretty quickly was that most people don't know how to build very sophisticated trading strategies. There's a lot of math involved. There's a lot of understanding of different triggers, different market conditions, different indicators, and stuff like that. So ultimately, what we realized was, in the long term, it would be better for us to focus on simple strategies that could apply to anybody's portfolio. And that's when we really made the pivot from advanced crypto trading to just rebalancing. So we basically stripped out all of the features that we were offering in Crabby. We pared it down to just being a rebalancing application. And that's when we rebranded to Shrimpy, because, it's a shrimp compared to Crabby. But at that time, we didn't really have the vision of what is this going to become. We just knew we wanted a very simple tool to manage our portfolio. And eventually, over the years, that evolved into helping people manage their long-term assets. But at the time, we didn't really have that vision. It was just, hey, this is like a very easy way to connect to exchanges, rebalance your portfolio, keep your assets in check, and stuff like that. So it's been a long process to get to where we are today.
You mentioned at the beginning of this AMA, and even on the private call that you and I had a few weeks back, that you're working on a way, or if I'm not mistaken, and have received approval to give retail investors investment advice. I think you're the first in the US to be able to do this. Can you give us some more insight into that, what it means for Shrimpy, and what it means for mainstream investors that are still waiting on the sidelines?
Absolutely. Yeah. So in the last couple months, we received SEC approval to launch an investment advisory for digital assets. So what that means is we're going to be able to provide retail investors, everyday people, investment advice on how to allocate their portfolio and how to think about cryptocurrency for the long term. So if you look at the traditional market, what you see is that most investments that people make are in things like ETFs or index funds, or whatever it is, but very simple vehicles to purchase categories of assets. So we're trying to recreate that success for digital assets by offering different baskets of assets that are based on categories, and then we allocate people's portfolios to these different categories of assets based on their risk profile, based on their long-term objectives, based on their time horizon, all of these things that could influence how they want to participate in the space. And what this will do is this will open doors to be the first way that millions of retail investors get into the crypto space. Because right now, most investors don't get into cryptocurrency because they're scared. They don't know what to invest in. They don't even know the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they don't want to take the time to figure it out. And I think a lot of people don't realize how little people know about crypto. I've been around in the crypto space for a while, and I forget it all the time. I think everybody knows about crypto. Everybody knows what Bitcoin is or knows what Ethereum is. But after talking more and more with retail investors, it's become clear that not only do they not know anything about crypto, they're scared of investing because they've heard all of these stories of, this thing got hacked or that thing got hacked, or Luna just lost everybody $80 billion or whatever. People are scared. So we need a safe space for people to come in for their first time, make their first investments in a very secure way, without any fear and without the doubt of what they should be investing in. So we're helping them through that process so that we can bring in the next wave of cryptocurrency investors. So yeah.
Cool. And on the topic of education, right? Educating folks that you're trying to bring on to even invest in these baskets. What kind of work is Shrimpy doing on that end? I know that you guys have an academy, a blog, a YouTube channel. So what kind of content can we find on these? And furthermore, who's publishing content? Is it strictly the Shrimpy team, or are you guys collaborating with with other KOLs and influencers in the space?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, we do have an academy on the website. We do have the YouTube channel. All of the content that we produce is produced by Shrimpy. So we don't outsource anything. We don't outsource our development. We don't outsource our content writing. We don't outsource anything. So, we are the ones that are writing all of that content. So we know that the people who write it have very deep experience on all of these different aspects. So when we're thinking about content, there's a couple different categories that we care about. So one of them is long-term asset management. So we want to educate people on how to think about the crypto space in a long-term view. So one of the problems that we have with the digital asset space right now is that people are in it when times are good. And people are doing strategies that are very risky because they're moving in and out of the market very rapidly. So we want to shift the public view from, doing day trading and doing these very cyclical things to let's think about the crypto space over the course of the next 30 years. And let's help people invest in a way that they're thinking about the next 30 years. And I think this will not only give people a better perspective when they're coming into the market, I think it'll also give them better returns, and it will reduce the volatility of the market, I believe, in the long term. So instead of having these huge swings in the market, if people are having a long-term mindset, they're not dumping their assets at the first sign of potential fear or something like that. So, that's sort of one category that we focus on a lot with our content. How can we help people think in a long-term perspective? But then we're also educating people on all sorts of other things, anything from how to use an exchange, how to execute their first trade, how to analyze the market, and even to more advanced topics, like advanced trading strategies, advanced analysis of different assets, all sorts of stuff. So it's a pretty diverse selection, but it's something we've been building, and we will continue to build over the long term.
Are there any competitors that you believe are doing something similar to you guys in the space, and what advantages do you think you have over them?
Yeah, it's a tough question. There are some competitors that have claimed to be trying to do what we do. And the reason I say claimed is because there's a lot of people who have said that over the years, like, oh, we're going to do what Shrimpy does. And then 5 years later, they still haven't done it. So I don't think there's really value in calling out people who claim to do something. But I could talk about the general difference between our mindset and other people in the market. One thing we've seen is that there's a lot of platforms that set out to try to be like Shrimpy. And the problem that they typically run into is that customers in the digital asset space pull you towards complexity. So what I mean by that is everybody wants more advanced trading features. So when you're developing a trading platform, that's a problem because you'll keep adding and adding and adding and adding and adding until your feature set is so complex that you can't attract new customers. So you've designed your entire platform to service these very advanced traders, and new customers that are coming into your platform, they'll have no idea how to use your platform because it's too advanced. It's so sophisticated that only people who have been on your platform for a long time know how to use the platform. So this is something we see with a lot of trading services. And I guess one other thing I would say is in competition with our advisory services that we're about to launch, there have been other people who've said that they would like to launch advisory services, but a lot of them focus more on risky assets to try to increase your returns, but also increase your risk, which from my perspective, you should never do as like an advisor. So, our goal is to reduce your risk while giving you exposure to digital assets. So it's a very different mindset than a lot of people have in the space.
Michael, are there any other plans for Shrimpy this year and going into 2023? Whether it's, I know you mentioned you have a free version coming up, but whether it's product upgrades or even launching new products?
Yeah, we have quite a lot of plans. So we have the free tier coming out. We have a new backtest feature that's going to be launched here shortly. So basically a major update to our existing backtest tools. We're also redoing all of our historical data inside the application so you can get better insights into your trading history, trading performance, how you're performing over the long term. And then the last thing that we are trying to wrap up by the end of the year is a couple major improvements to our automations. So we're redoing the flows for our automations. We're improving some of the features, like we have some improvements for stop losses that we're going to be implementing. So that's all for the current Shrimpy product. But in terms of the advisory, we will be having the advisory launch. So, we'll be launching that product for the first time, bringing in our first customers, iterating on that product in ways to, improve the experience, make sure everybody is able to seamlessly purchase their first cryptocurrency. So those are the two sort of major efforts that we're developing right now.
Cool. And how does Shrimpy, I don't know if you can tell us more about this, but how does Shrimpy generate revenue?
Yeah, so we generate revenue through two different streams. So the first is subscriptions, of course. So, customers that use our platform pay a subscription fee. We take the cost, use that for development, stuff like that. We also earn some revenue from exchanges. So exchanges also pay us for the trading volume that we execute. So, those are the two main revenue streams that we have. But with the advisory services, those services will be based on assets under management. So we will be charging AUM-based fees. So then at that point, we'll have subscription costs, AUM fees, and whatever amount the exchanges pay us.
Does Shrimpy have any kind of referral program?
Yes, we do. We actually have a pretty generous referral program. Right now, we give the people who refer customers 50% of the fees that we collect from those customers for life. So if somebody you refer subscribes to the enterprise tier, you'll get $150 a month forever, as long as they subscribe. So right now, a lot of our customers come through that referral program. So we do know it's doing pretty well right now.
And is that something that is going to be sustainable, or do you think at some point in the future you'll probably not be able to offer that anymore?
I think it is sustainable. I think, to me, one of the values that we have as a company is we want our business to be built on the sort of the appreciation of the customers themselves. So we want our business and our products that we make, we want them to be so good that people are willing to share them. So, we structure our business in a way where people are sort of benefit from that. So I don't think there will ever be a case where we're trying to scale back on the rewards that we provide to customers or the way that we interact with people. And that's also why we've invested very heavily in our support team, because we're a very customer-centric company, and we want every person that uses Shrimpy to have an amazing experience, and then we want them to tell people about it. So, we need to think of what makes sense for our customers every step of the way. And in my mind, being very generous with the referral program is one of the big ways that we can do that.
And I almost forgot, on that note, how big is your team and where are most of you located?
Yeah, we currently have about 20 people on the team. We're located throughout the United States. So we don't have any offices. We're 100% remote. So I think we have people in something like 17 states or something like that. So a lot of variety in the company right now. But yeah, we plan on staying full remote as we scale the company. So it's worked out very well for us. We really enjoy the culture of being remote. So it's been a lot of fun.
Is Shrimpy hiring?
So we are always open to hiring people who we think are amazing. We don't have any open positions right now because we're just trying to be conservative during the bear market. But of course, if the right person comes by at the right time who we think would be a great asset to Shrimpy, we're always happy to have that conversation and see if they could fit into the organization.
What can readers expect from your Zero to Hero handbook?
Yes, I forgot about that. So that handbook was basically a deep dive into trading and giving people a primer for how to trade cryptocurrency. Everything from the basics up to more advanced trading strategies. So each chapter in that book highlights a different concept of crypto trading, talks about it in depth, and then gives you resources to either learn more or to participate in that thing. So, for example, there's even sections on like DeFi, how to do DeFi trading or how to use smart contracts or how to, do all of these different things. So, I think it's a great resource for somebody who's looking to get into crypto for the first time and would like to participate in a meaningful way. So if they have questions about how do you do this or how do you do that, that handbook can provide a lot of those resources.
Michael, we talked earlier about some of the key changes you think are needed in order to see mass adoption. And we also discussed how Shrimpy fits into this vision. So if we missed anything on that, certainly feel free to chime in. But I was curious at a high level, where you see this industry in the next 5 to 10 years with respect to specifics. And you don't have to talk about all of them if you don't want to. You don't have to talk about any of them if you don't want to, but I'm just going to list them out. Bitcoin, Ethereum, layer ones. We talked about DeFi already. We can skip that if you would like. NFTs and play to earn.
Yeah, so of course DeFi, I sort of shared my feeling that in the long term, DeFi is going to be more about developers rather than retail. And I feel similarly for NFTs. My view on NFTs is that they're a sort of a critical piece of infrastructure for the world that we live in. Like they can provide value for so many different areas, whether it's content, creative things like artwork, or even sort of real life assets like houses that you want to digitize. So, I see value in all of these different industries for NFTs, but the problem is that there's not enough infrastructure right now. So that's why we sort of default to some of the more unpleasant behaviors in the NFT space or pump and dumps or whatever it is. It's because there's not enough infrastructure to do these very meaningful things. So then people just try to get money out of the market however they can. But I think over time, as NFTs mature, we're going to see some very important use cases that really show how powerful it is to digitize assets. So I'm looking forward to what happens with NFTs, but it will take some time to get there. In terms of layer ones, I have mixed feelings on layer ones. I think in the long term, we need consolidation. So I don't think it's sustainable to keep having new layer ones pop up every year or every couple of years and having this sort of endless cycle of, what's the new hot layer one. I don't think that's a sustainable strategy or a sustainable environment for developers to build. I think realistically, in the long term, we need, 3 main layer ones that we use, and everybody will primarily develop on those 3. It's similar to, real world platforms. You have like Apple versus Microsoft. You have 2, so you have a couple options, but if there were 50 different Apples and Microsofts, developers would hate their lives. It would be horrible to have to develop applications for all of these different platforms. Similar with like Android or iOS. So, I think realistically, it eventually will have to get down to like 2 or 3 platforms that developers can build on top of. And then those 3 or so networks will have such strong social networks or developer communities that it will be very difficult for new layer ones to come into the market. So that's sort of my long-term view on layer ones. In terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum, I don't really have any unique takes on those two. So I don't know if I really have much to share. I think there's other people who have a lot more experience on those assets specifically. So I would rather just sort of defer to them on what they think long-term for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then I guess the last one that you mentioned was play to earn, I believe. And I'm not sure how I feel about play to earn.
So I'm gonna rephrase. I don't like the term play to earn. I want to rephrase it because I was on Spaces earlier today. But crypto gaming, right? Taking a fun, exciting video game. I'm always gonna refer back to World of Warcraft because that's my diehard classic. But like, if you had a game like that on the blockchain and players are able to actually own the assets that they collect, that they spend time trying to level up and accumulate. Just what are your thoughts on that environment going forward with respect to Web3 and gaming fusing together and becoming something entirely new?
Yeah, I think that will realistically happen. I think the use cases of being able to build on top of a infrastructure that is common. So like imagine if, World of Warcraft, Diablo, all of these different games built on the same network that used the same resources and allowed you to share resources between those games and even sort of build worlds that connect in different ways. I think that the use cases are pretty, that'd be pretty amazing. The practicality of that is a whole nother discussion. I don't know what the practicality of that is, because sometimes there's technologies that feel like they would be an amazing use case, but just technically it's too complicated to do. So I guess I can't really comment on that. I do see the potential, though. I think that could be a massive market. I think it could be very interesting. And I think people would feel more ownership over the things and the assets that they collect inside the game because they can actually sell them or they can actually carry them to the next game that's developed. Or, their progress doesn't end when the game ends, essentially. So, yeah, I think overall I'm a big fan of that.
Interoperability between World of Warcraft and Diablo is something that I've never thought about, but it sounds so cool in theory. I'm definitely going to use that talking point next time I'm in a crypto gaming Twitter space. So thanks for that. Michael, I want to get to some audience questions, but before we do wrap things up, is there anything about Shrimpy that I didn't ask that you're excited to share with our community? I feel like we covered a lot, but the floor is yours.
Yeah, we definitely covered a lot. Nothing comes to mind specifically. I think the space is evolving very quickly. We're thinking as far in the future as we can. We're trying to think what's going to be necessary in the next 30 years, 20 years, and what is it going to take for us to get us there. So, I'm hopeful that other companies will begin thinking that way as well, instead of thinking the opposite way. I feel like more and more companies are thinking, how can I get as much money out of this opportunity as I can in as little time as possible? And then it just ends up in rug pulls and, companies shutting down after one bear cycle. it's feels like a very fragile market right now because people don't have this long-term view.
I couldn't agree more. Audience members, we are doing a 100 BUSD giveaway. It's 50 BUSD to 2 lucky winners. I'm going to pick them at random at the very end of this Twitter space. But for now, let's go to audience questions. Captain Levi, you're up first, sir.
Thanks, Noah. Shrimpy, it's a really wonderful project. I really wish you guys the best. My first question is that I actually went through your white paper, very educational content concerning the concept of trading. And I wanted asking, you've defined quite a lot of different various concepts. I noticed you basically talked about some advantageous trading psychologies and analysis, market overview and research, and among many other strategies. So why did the Shrimpy team put itself at an advantage by telling the traders who are reading the white paper that also use the Shrimpy platform how it plans to make use of these different strategies it mentioned and terminologies to ensure that the traders will make steady profits?
I might have missed a little bit of your question in the middle. So it sounds like you're asking about us sharing our strategy with all of these traders and how it sort of impacts those traders since we're telling them basically what our strategy is. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to rephrase the question now. The thing is, when I read your white paper, I actually opened my mind to a lot of concepts. I noticed you talked about some advantageous trading psychologies and analysis, market overview and research, and then many other strategies. So I wanted asking, why didn't the Shrimpy team put itself, in the limelight by telling us how Shrimpy is using these different terminologies by putting the investors who use Shrimpy at an advantage?
Yeah, so my philosophy is that, well, there's a couple different things. I think a lot of people try to hide their strategies because they believe that, sharing, well, which is true. If you share your strategy and more people use that strategy, then typically what that means is the strategy can become less effective. So that's true generally for strategies. The difference with rebalancing is that rebalancing takes into account the other allocations in the portfolio. So if you're just looking at the white paper, we don't tell you, and there's no way to know what are the other allocations in the portfolio. So we can look at the market as a whole and how did rebalancing impact that portfolio, by sort of doing back tests and doing strategy analysis. But at the end of the day, that just tells you how that strategy performed over any portfolio. So you don't know what portfolio it was. It's just any randomly selected portfolio. So that's one thing, like we don't sort of dig into different assets, and we can't really do that because we don't know what assets the customer is going to select. But one of the other things is I believe that rebalancing would help the market be more stable over the long term. So I would actually rather more people rebalance their portfolio. And as a result, what we would see is more stability in the market, because the way that rebalancing works is when a cryptocurrency goes up, some of it is sold and it's distributed to the other cryptocurrencies that either stagnated or went down. So there's sort of this dampening effect in the market that you'll see less sort of abrupt changes to the value of the assets if more people rebalance their portfolio. So in general, I believe it would be better if more people did this strategy.
Oh, I get it now. It's it's a wonderful strategy. It's actually really, really good. My next question, my next two questions, are questions I actually saw from your website. The first one, you actually talked about it during the course of the AMA, is concerning the uniqueness of the priority support concept. I saw on your website that you have about 3 tiers. You I actually heard you say that the free tier is coming soon. With these three different prices, and then one thing that caught my attention is on the enterprise tier, and a feature that stands out is the concept of priority support. This feature goes at $299 a month. Can you explain what uniqueness this feature brings, and how do those that subscribe from this enterprise plan benefit because of this particular priority support feature?
So priority support is more for enterprise customers. So if you're an enterprise customer and you need unique support for your account specifically, we are able to provide that support if you're subscribed to that tier. So for example, that could be developer support, us looking into adding additional capabilities to your account so that you can link additional exchange accounts, or so that your particular feature could get prioritized more with the dev team. So it's more about working with those people specifically so that we can give them the help that they need, because they're likely managing far more assets and they have a lot more accounts connected. So they're going to need more help on a more dedicated basis.
Okay, okay. I think I get it now. I think I get it now. Okay, so my next question is still on your website. Quite a bit technical about your security aspect. I saw on your website that every API key is securely encrypted and stored using FIPS 140-2 validated hardware security modules to protect confidentiality and integrity of your exchange API keys. I had to go do a background check on this particular FIPS 140-2 module, and I noticed that it's actually categorized into 4 various levels, from strongest to weakest, level 1 to 4, and with level 4 having the highest security level with most features. Does this mean that the Shrimpy project um, took this amazing security system, and this amazing security system is gotten from a third-party security provider?
Yeah, so that is the security level that we use. It's a comparable security setup to what most exchanges use. So most exchanges use something similar to what we are using. And although we are not an exchange, so we don't actually custody your assets in our servers, although we don't do that, we still obviously take security extremely seriously. So all of the features that we develop, we want to abide by the highest level or highest standard of security that we could possibly implement. So, that was just one of the ways that we can make sure that we're as secure as possible, and all of our customers feel safe at all times.
Wow, just one of the ways. I can only imagine how many security features that the Shrimpy team had put in place just to ensure the safety of investor funds. It's really wonderful. My last question. One thing I actually saw in your Academy ebook is the ebook, The Beginner's Handbook to Trading Crypto. It's a wonderful book, I must say. But I did notice that it took some time for me to get this book right into my email. If what actually caused that delay? Is it that the book is in high demand, or you were verifying that I was an actual human who requested for a copy of this book?
Let me look into that. I am not sure. I don't remember what service we used to send out that ebook, so I'll have to check and see, why there might have been delays.
All right, all right. Well, Noah was actually talking about, I heard Noah talking about the integration of a hardware wallet. I wanted asking, is there some kind of catch update that it's connected to that hardware wallet so that as soon as I connect my hardware back, the Shrimpy team will actually detect the Shrimpy will actually detect that my hardware wallet is actually connected and then update my hardware wallet based on the previous activities that has been saved in that cache?
So the way that connection works is once you connect your wallet to Shrimpy, we will begin pulling in balance data automatically. So we will scan for your different assets that you own, and then we will pull those into Shrimpy, and we'll connect directly to the blockchain to make those updates. So even if your wallet is no longer connected to Shrimpy, we will still get those updates so that when you come back to Shrimpy the next time, you will be able to see your entire history of all of your balances, all of the assets you own, how much you owned over time, the trades that you've made, and all of these different things. So that's one of the unique things about Shrimpy is that we are approaching things from a perspective of once you connect your wallets, we want that history to remain permanent. So there's a lot of other aggregators in the market that they will only pull your history once you connect to their service. And then once you disconnect, they'll delete all of your history. We are different in that we maintain that history permanently so that you can disconnect at any time, it will still have your history. So that's one nice thing about Doge.
This actually brought about another question, but I'll have to ask it in your Telegram group or in your socials. I'll have to construct the question a lot more properly. I really want to thank you very much for answering my questions in as much detail as possible. I think I'm probably going to be making use of this project to trade, but I really have to go through your white paper and the website again. I really appreciate your answers to the questions. I really wish you guys the best, and I hope the project stays bullish moonward. Over to you, Noah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing up these questions. And I'm always happy to answer more questions on Telegram. So if you message me on Telegram, I'm always happy to answer any questions and see, what I could do to help.
Thanks a lot, Michael. Rick, I see Rick Jonathan just hand up. Guys, try to keep the questions high level from here. Captain Levi, I know I said you could ask as many as you want, but we got some hands up now, so I want to be able to get everyone in. Rick, go for it, brother. Okay. I guess Rick's not there, and the hands I saw up are no longer up. Michael, I want to be really cognizant of your time. I know that you're a busy man, and I really appreciate you joining us today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I sincerely appreciate your insights, and I think it's a lot more rational and practical with respect to the current state of the market and kind of what needs to happen going forward for mass adoption to ultimately allow a flood of hopefully wealth to pump into this market. So before you go, do you want to, for people that are just joining in, do you want to give a quick summary of not just who you are, but leave us with something, a nugget of wisdom, if you will?
That's leaving the most difficult question for last. I appreciate all the time here chatting with you. So I appreciate you having me on. Just as an overview, again, I have been in the crypto space for 10 years, I guess now. So I've seen the market evolve over those years, and some things have changed, but a lot has unfortunately stayed the same. So, 10 years ago, I was expecting the market to look very different. I was envisioning a future where we didn't even have to input other people's public keys to send them crypto. I was thinking it would just be like, oh, we just type in your address or your name or your username or whatever, and it just like figures out how to do it. But you know, unfortunately, a lot of the things that have been developed today have been more focused on like how can we make as much money as possible, rather than how can we bring new people into the market and how can we expand where digital assets is going. So in my view, I think we're at a place in the market where we need more developers. We need more people with vision, more people who are willing to do things that are different. So not people who want to keep the status quo of crypto. In order to get to 100% adoption, we can't be where we are today. You know, we have to be moved on to the next phase of digital assets. And I think applying lessons that we learned during the internet era, I think would help a lot. You know, early on in the internet, people thought that everything would be peer-to-peer. You know, all of the communication was peer-to-peer. A lot of the services were peer-to-peer. But over time, things got more centralized. Developers sort of learned how to service customers through elegant user experiences, through services that actually served purposes. So I think the next wave of digital assets has to take that to heart. You know, we have to start thinking about what are the actual problems that we're solving for customers? What are the actual solutions that will solve that problem? Not just, you know, how do we pump my bags so that I could dump on all of these retail investors? Because if that keeps happening, people are going to stay away for as long as possible. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where we're at, what we're thinking about. We're trying to solve these problems best we can, but we need more people. We need more people thinking about these problems.
Right on. Couldn't have said it better myself. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Michael from Shrimpy. Michael, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us. It's been a pleasure. And anytime you want to come back and talk all things crypto, you're more than welcome.
Awesome. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a great day.
Yeah, likewise. Take care. Whale Coin Talk community, I know that we are going to announce 2 winners, but before I do that, I want everyone to understand that Whale Coin Talk is an educational channel. We never give any financial advice here. You will never hear any financial advice on our podium. So always do your own research, be safe out there, and only invest what you're willing to lose. We have 2 winners, and I'm just going to pick them at random here. One is Danny C. That's at Big Dan 12115. And the other winner is Fantasy Queens NFT. That's at Queens_NFT. Please, if you are a winner, I will DM you. Do not change your tag for whatever reason. Your user handle, you will disqualify yourself automatically. So again, everyone, thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Noah from Whale Coin Talk, signing out. Take care.